Hey, welcome to the Randy Karraker Show on STL Sports Central, presented by DraftKings, where the crown is yours. That's Matthew Rocchio. There he is. I'm Randy Karraker. Sorry we're a little bit late. We were actually recording our but our segment with Bernie Miklasz that will drop on Friday morning. So look forward to that. And if you'd like to see the entire thing, all you need to do is become an insider at STL Sports Central. It's pretty cool. All you need to do is go to stlsportscentral.com and fill out the form, and you'll be able to get the chance to have more engagement with myself and Bernie and Brendan Schaefer and Kareem Rush and more, plus an opportunity to watch a hockey game with Jamal Mayers, access to all of Bernie's columns every week, ad-free reading experiences at stlsportscentral.com, and, of course, you will be supporting local independent sports media. Just go to stlsportscentral.com and sign up to become an insider. Mr. Rocchio, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, Randy. How are you, sir?
Doing well. I'm excited about the Blues. They now have the second highest odds for the number one overall pick in the draft. Of course, they also have the second lowest points total in the league, so that makes sense. When do the trades start? I kind of think they should start before the Olympics start, before that Olympic freeze. They'll have 12 days after the Olympics to make trades and clear out whomever they want to clear out. I thought it was interesting yesterday that Jeremy Rutherford and Shayna Goldman at The Athletic wrote a piece about Robert Thomas. And we had talked before about Robert Thomas and how unprecedented trading Robert Thomas, a guy of that ilk, would be, because you don't run across point-a-game 26-year-old centers that are bargain players, and they're under 5 years of control. And I don't know that the Blues, with that being the case, could get equal value for Robert Thomas. They would have to be blown out of the water, in my opinion, with, the Sabres. They got two young players and a first and a second for Eichel. And then last year, Rantanen was a 2 first-round guy. I think you have to get two really good young players and a prospect and maybe 2 number ones if you're going to move Robert Thomas. And that's where you're starting when you're going to move a player like that. I would have a great deal of difficulty if I were either Doug Armstrong or Alexander Steen in pulling the trigger on moving Robert Thomas out of St. Louis.
See, the one that jumped out to me from that article that I thought was an interesting comparison, I think maybe you can extrapolate from, was the comparison to Thomas Hertl when they traded him to the Vegas Golden Knights. Because if you take what Hertl was production-wise, his highest point total prior to that was 4 years before the trade, when he was a 74-point player in a 77-game season. So he's not a point-per-game player. So he got traded for a first and a third, and also a third the next season, and a former first-rounder from the year prior. So we're talking 2 first-round picks and 2 third-round picks, essentially. That seems like a good starting point to build to a point-per-game center, going from a non-point-per-game center in Hertl to a point-per-game center in Robert Thomas with defensive plaudits that we know he has. We'll start at 2 first-rounders and 2 third-rounders. One of them can be your last year's first-rounder. That's fine. But then we're also going to have to tag on a 40-point center just so that we don't completely fall apart up the middle. And I don't know, maybe I'm going to need a third first-round pick. Maybe I'm going to need a second-round pick in there. But my point is, and to your point as well, if these are the comparisons, then these are simply the base for a trade that then has to get built on if any Robert Thomas trade is actually going to make any sense.
And by the way, Thomas Hertl was 30 when he got traded from San Jose to Vegas. Robert Thomas is 26. He's still got a lot of hockey left in him. The other thing about, and taking nothing away from Hertl, who played on that 2015-2016 San Jose team that went to the finals, and then he also was on the team in 2019 that lost to the Blues in the conference finals. But Robert Thomas is a Stanley Cup champion, and that carries some weight when you have done it at the highest level and obviously set up one of the biggest goals in a Stanley Cup run. I think that Robert Thomas is a guy, and the best run that Hertl ever had in the playoffs was that year that they played the Blues in the conference finals, 15 points in 19 games. He's never been a point-a-game guy in the playoffs. And so I would have a great deal of difficulty moving him. I don't think I would have as much trouble if I were the Blues in parting with Jordan Kyrou, because he's kind of like a box of chocolates. You just don't know what you're going to get. And I don't think that anybody will take Buchnevich off their hands. And another one, and I just don't know how to read this, Matthew, is Parayko, because Parayko had a career year last year, and this year he doesn't have a goal. So, and he's got a no trade, and my guess would be that Parayko would probably invoke his no trade provision, but I just don't know what to think. Is there a future for Colton Parayko to be great, or have we seen the best of him? And at the age of 32, is he in the midst of a regression?
I think the last thing is a completely reasonable question to ask. I would say that based on what we saw from guys like Jay Bouwmeester, like the offense, you're not paying him for the offensive side of the game. You're paying him to be a defenseman. And we saw how Jay Bouwmeester was able to age into his mid to late 30s. And I don't think there's any reason that Colton Parayko can't do it as well. He's in incredible shape. He skates well. He's big. He's got the long stick. I mean, there's all these things tell us that he should be able to age as just a stay-at-home defenseman, which has always been the reason you pay him, the reason that he's a great player, the reason why he's going to play for Canada at the Olympics is because he's a great defenseman. So I think he should age well, and I don't try to get too hung up on his offensive numbers. Yes, they've been bad, but that's not what you're paying Colton Parayko for anyway. It's a nice little thing on top of it, but at 6.25 million, he's cheap at this point when we talk about a top four defenseman. And he's still giving you good defense. You know, this year, the pairings have been flipped around a little bit, but when he's been paired with Cam Fowler, and it's been one of the least pairings we've seen from them, they've been an actually above average pairing. And so he's been at times, I think, exposed by an overall team structure that's been pretty bad defensively, but I still think he's a very good stay-at-home defenseman, and he will be that for another 4 or 5 years.
Here's the thing with Parayko for me. The Stanley Cup year, he scored 10 goals, then he scored 10 the year after that. Then the year after that, it doesn't really count because of the COVID. But then he gets to 6 goals in 21-22, 4 goals in 22-23, but then 10 2 years ago, 16 last year, and now 0. So I thought he was on an upward trajectory with his offense. And when they would let Alex Pietrangelo go, so that Colton Parayko could be their number one defenseman, they weren't thinking that he was only going to be a defensive defenseman. They thought that he was going to be a number one guy that played at both ends of the ice. Now, you're right. It may not be there, but it doesn't look like it's going to be Logan Mailloux either, at least in the near term. It's probably not going to be, almost certainly not going to be Justin Falk in the long term. So who is going to be the right side defenseman that does provide the Blues an offensive threat? You're fine with Broberg on the left side. Fowler, kind of a coin flip. It's not going to be Tyler Tucker, even though he does have a good shot. I think you better get offense out of another defenseman if it's not going to be Colton Parayko, and I don't know who that guy is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, you still hope it's going to be Logan Mailloux. Obviously, it hasn't been this year, but he's still so young. That's what your plan is, that he's still going to be that guy. What's Juracek? Isn't he? I mean, you're right. You're 100% right.
You just can't count on him.
You can't count on him. There's nobody really in the pipeline other than a guy that we've seen play NHL hockey, and he hasn't played well. So that's completely fair.
So aside from, and I know that at the Athletic they have Binnington on their big board, and they have Schenn on their big board. And by the way, Schenn's got the half of the league no trade also. I just wonder right now, if we take Robert Thomas off the table, and I think we can fairly assume that nobody's going to want to take on Buchnevich, even if you could get the Blues to take 75% of his salary. I don't think anybody's going to need Pavel Buchnevich on their team. That leaves Kyrou, right? Kyrou and Falk is the only real possibilities. Kyrou up front, Falk as a defenseman. The only real possibilities, in my opinion, to be moved. I can see them moving Schenn. I'm just talking about guys that you're going to get return for. I don't think you're going to get a ton of return. And Schenn is great for the Blues, but I do know that he is not going to be a guy that is going to bring a massive return for the Blues. I think he's probably more valuable here in St. Louis as the captain and the heart and soul of the team than he would be walking into another team where he can be that veteran that helps win a Stanley Cup. But I think that what he does for the Blues in this season, 25-26, is more valuable than what somebody that they trade for him for could be.
Yeah, it's definitely more valuable for this season, but if you can get a third round pick for him, why not get the third round pick for him?
If you can get a third round pick for him, go for it.
Yeah, that's the thought process. Yeah, like does a team give them that? I don't know, and I would agree with you. It's like there is a point of diminishing returns where, like, is a 7th round pick worth 20 games of him practicing with Dvorsky and Stenberg? Probably not. If we're like actually like talking about real tangible value and making smart moves, I think that's a completely fair question to ask going forward. We got some chats here that I wanted to get to. Samuel Howe talking about Robert Thomas. Thomas's goals are there. We aren't getting the assists because no one else finishes. Yeah, and that was a big point. Right. The article that Rutherford pointed out is that, yeah, he's not maybe scoring the way you really want him to and picking up the assists, but the assists you can put on the fact that Kyrou and Buchnevich have just completely struggled this entire season. Taco Dell 95, sell as much as you can. I want to see a top 3 pick arrive here in STL. We did kind of gloss over that. The loss to the Jets moved them up to second best odds at the number 1 overall pick. Also, Jeremy Rutherford mentioning in his article on The Athletic that The Athletic's draft expert has a new number 1 prospect, and that is, of course, the younger brother of the Blues' own Otto Stenberg. That is the new number 1 prospect over Penn State's Gavin McKenna, is the Swedishman Ivar Stenberg. So a little change in the top of the box. Blues moving up potentially for a first overall pick. Of course, it is a lottery, so you can't really guarantee the tank's going to be completely successful, but it's looking like a nice, solid top 3 or 4 year in the NHL. So hopefully they can get a difference maker who doesn't have to, wait a year or two to actually make an impact on the NHL squad.
I like this from Cole Bassett's Left Foot. Thomas trade only makes sense if you ignore every piece of logic about NHL teams, how NHL teams treat elite prime age franchise centers. Exactly. That's what I was trying to point out. I just don't see a scenario in which the Blues for the long term make themselves better by trading a 26-year-old number 1 center. It's hard enough to find a number 2 center in this league, let alone a number 1. And I think despite what's happening this year, Robert Thomas is a number 1.
It's like the contract, his age. It's, unless the Canucks or the Jets are offering you their first round pick, which is also going to be in the top 3, and then they're offering you their next pick next year too, which will probably be top 7 because those franchises aren't very good, especially the Canucks. Mm-hmm. Short of that, it's just you're putting yourself behind the 8 ball. You're making it so that this draft pick that could potentially actually matter in 2 or 3 years is probably just going to be potentially the start of just like a 9 or 10 year rebuild. That's pointless. That's useless. It ignores not only every piece of logic about prime age franchise centers, it ignores every piece of logic about having a player in their prime on a long-term deal that's slowly becoming a very good discount. Essentially, it ignores all logic.
Yeah. Hey, Matthew, I want to make another quick point here about the trade deadline, and that's about Jordan Binnington, because I know a lot of us are very happy with what Joel Hofer has been able to accomplish.
Yep.
But let me remind everybody that Ville Husso, in his rookie year, played 17 games, had an .893 save percentage and a 3.21 goals against. Then in his second year, skyrocketed to .919 save percentage and 2.56. Then he leaves the Blues, goes to Detroit. His every subsequent season has never had a .900 save percentage and has never had a goals against below 3. .896, 3.11, .892, 3.55, and then last year, .890 with a 3.47, and then this year, he has a 3.08 with an .888 save percentage. He did he played last year for 2 teams. When he got to Anaheim, he played well, but only in 4 games. But I just don't know if you can count on, and we've seen it happen with other young Blues goalies that have gone elsewhere too. I don't know if you can count on Hofer being as awesome as he has been for 3 months here. And the Blues don't have another guy because they lost Colton Ellis. They don't have another guy in their system ready to step up and be an NHL goalie, let alone an NHL number 1 goalie, if you trade Binnington and for whatever reason, Joel Hofer falls off.
Yeah, trading Binnington would be a risk, but I mean, you're also he's got only one more year left on the deal, right?
Yeah,
So
but he'll be here. He wants to be here. If the price is right, he would be here. I'm not worried about him leaving as a free agent. I want to have a good goalie.
Yeah, it's just how I mean 34 years old, I guess, isn't that old for a goalie he's only really been hitting for 4 or 5 years or 6 years at this point.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the longest that other great goalies lasted, and not that he's in the class of a Brodeur or a Waugh, but Martin Brodeur was he 38 when he played here?
Yeah. So I'll have to. I know this is a little bit in the future, but I just kind of want to set the stage a little bit. So next year he has no trade clause. He doesn't have a no trade clause next year, and it's an expiring deal. If the Blues are struggling next year, you wouldn't want to trade him.
If the Blues are struggling next year,
yeah.
Well, it depends on who my goalie is.
Let's say it's still him and Hofer.
Do I have somebody that I know is going to be really good, or at least I can project to be a number one goalie in the future?
It depends how Steve Ott turns around the Thunderbirds.
Was 42 when he played here.
Yeah, it depends how Steve Ott turns around the Thunderbirds, maybe,
and how their goalie performs,
and how those young goalies perform.
Yeah, I think that you're taking a massive risk. So, and not that Binnington has been great this year, but Jordan Binnington has had a good career. He seems like a reliable sort. And obviously, what has happened in front of Jordan Binnington this year hasn't actually been helpful to him either. I think that there are other fish to fry for this team to get better rather than replacing the goalie.
Yeah, Joshua Lee says a lot of these are number one centers. They have prolific scorers around them. Thomas, as much as I like him, he's not a number one center. I understand.
No, that is an ill-informed comment. If you ask anybody in hockey, they'll tell you that Robert Thomas is a number one center. Sorry,
I just don't think there's a lot of point per game centers who are second liners.
Yeah, that's all you have to do is go read something, or go. If you get the opportunity to talk to somebody in hockey that you respect, ask them about Robert Thomas.
High Refinition. Yeah. Very excited for us to be talking hockey. Binnington will likely just get one game in the Olympics.
Well, I think it depends on what happens in that first game. If he performs well in that first game, and Cooper has told him he's starting game one, if he performs well and wins, then he's starting game two. And I think a lot of that, the Canadian stuff, remember last year, even after they won game one, and I think he let in a bad goal, and the Canadians didn't want him to start the second game. Who the hell else is going to step in for Canada? Who are Canada's other good goalies, right? Canada doesn't make good goalies anymore, unfortunately for them.
Based on the NHL seasons they're having, the guys they picked are having some really good NHL seasons. I mean, they don't have the longevity of Binnington, but it's not like Binnington is the most consistent performer inside of a season. He goes on crazy runs where he's dominant, and then he has a month where him and the defense fall apart.
So who are you putting in then?
I gotta remember is
it Montembeault? Isn't right? No, they have a ton of talent, but I don't know that you're going to feel any better. And
so
Canada,
Kemper and Thomas, right?
Yeah, Darcy Kemper's never won a big game in his life.
I didn't say that they've won big games in their life. I'm just saying is that they're both having very good NHL seasons right now. That's all I'm saying. And that's just I think technically Logan Thompson putting up probably the best numbers not stylistically, analytically of the boys on a good team.
Kemper did win a Stanley Cup. But it wasn't because of Darcy Kemper that they won a Stanley Cup.
No.
They had other things going for them in Colorado.
Yeah, Thompson's not on a good team, but he's had a good season. So I see your point, but I also see why people doubt Binnington because of what we've seen from him this year. I think I agree with you. He's a guy who we know he's a gamer, and that's why when you talk to anybody, I mean, just fast forward to NHL Network or rewind to NHL Network when they were announcing the teams, everybody who has talked to anybody on the Olympic team said that it was a no-brainer for Binnington because it has nothing to do with Army being his GM. It has to do with he's a big game goalie.
Yeah. Well, if you just go back to, was it last week or 2 weeks ago that the Blues were in Tampa?
That would have been, I guess that was last week.
Whenever the Blues were with the Lightning, Cooper and Binnington went out for breakfast, and Cooper told him, "You're my guy." So if John Cooper says, and he's the coach of Team Canada, if he's telling Jordan Binnington that he's his guy, I would think that that's probably a pretty good indication to Binnington that he's going to be the guy, right?
I agree with you there. We had a nice little of comments here. Taco Dell, I see how Cleveland fans feel now. Hoping for a first pick overall is sobering. My Lord. On the other side of the spectrum, Jay Tux III, having the Stenberg brother would be a vibe. I'm all about it. I'm here for it. Gotta find some kind of sunshine.
I just want the best guy. I want the next Macklin Celebrini.
Yeah. He's an absolute monster. The thing about Stenberg is, I think if you just read the scouting report, I'm not like bringing up anything new or changing anybody's opinion here. He's a playmaking center. That's the thing about Stenberg. And so, he's not going to be the big goal scorer. And I think that might turn some people off because, as the chat is pointing out, that's the one thing the Blues don't have right now. We have a great playmaker in Robert Thomas, don't have a lot of great goal scorers, although that's kind of my thing with why you can't trade Robert Thomas is because Dvorsky's not really a playmaker as much as he is a goal scorer. But nonetheless, that is just the scouting report on the younger Stenberg right now. Is he's a very good playmaker, but he is mostly a playmaker.
Well, the nice thing about having the number one pick, if you get it, is that you get the first pick in the second round too.
Oh, hey!
And so maybe you can, and it's hard in the NHL, but wasn't Kucherov a second rounder?
I believe he was. Yes.
So you can find other guys. I will. I hope that the Blues, number one, make the playoffs. I don't think that's happening. But if they're going to make the playoffs, let's get the number one pick and then pick the right guy. Is a smart move to go to Sweden? Obviously, the Blues have a history there, and the guy that's going to make the pick is Sweden, right?
Yeah, that's kind of. And I also think, and maybe I'm wrong here, but the more and more we see across these leagues, man, just like guy people who come from families, people who had dads play, people who had brothers play. It just seems like it should be a little bit of a check mark because it just seems like these guys they grow up around the sport. They obviously, there's something in the genes that creates some special athletes as well, but they're around the sport. So they know the sport well. They're smart about it. They see it differently than maybe people who didn't grow up from birth around it. I don't know. There's just something about these legacy players that just, it seems like they hit.
We had a pretty good one here.
Yeah. We've had a couple. You look at Yachty's the best of his brothers, but it's not like his brothers when he slouches. Look at baseball. Look at obviously Richie and Ronnie. We've got some brother stories. He said Rich and Ronnie Sutter, but I was Bruce Sutter.
Sorry, Rich and Ronnie Sutter, but Bob Basson was that was their line. But then that Hull guy was a pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. That's the same thing. And like I was doing some research on like Slew's got a kid who I think I talked about him a few months ago. He's one of the freshmen who's redshirting. Who his mom and dad both played at WashU. His mom was a soccer player. His dad was a basketball player. And both of his older brothers played D1 college basketball as well. And I'm like, is this kid, he's been an athlete his entire life. He's grown up around athletes his entire life. I think this kid's going to be a gamer. And
Matthew, are you aware, by the way, of what the nickname of Wayne Gretzky's brother, Brent, is?
The other one?
No, the good one.
The good one. Damn it, that seems a lot more obvious. Yeah. Damn it, I like.
He had 4 points in the NHL, so Wayne was and Brent was a good one. Brent's apparently a pretty good general manager, though, in the minors.
There's going to be a lot of, obviously, Michael Jordan's kids weren't fantastic and things like that. But you have Steph Curry who grew up around the game, like because with Dell and things like that. It's just they're basketball players, like the amount of guys who have been legacies over the last few drafts. And it's guys you've never heard of. Like a lot of people have never heard of Jaren Jackson Sr., but clearly some of the athletic chops went to Jaren Jackson Jr., and he's been a pretty good player. You have the Kachuk, you got the Holidays. It's just it's always it seems like it's just something that's kind of proliferating a little bit, and it probably has some connection to a lot of sports becoming more based around select teams where money matters a little bit more, and having the ability to be around this stuff matters a lot more. That's probably all connected, if we're being honest.
And thanks to Jay Tux for his chat. At this point, it seems like the lottery pick would be better for us than maybe making the playoffs. Seems unlikely anyone will catch the Avs. Yeah, you're 100% right there. There is very little question that the Avalanche are the best team in the league.
I know people hate this mindset, but it's I'm trying to do a combination of both realism and also gilding the lily a little bit, to just because it sucks. It sucks to be back in this Rams fan mindset of the season's not even half over and we're already talking about the draft. I don't like being here again, but the reason why we did that with such joy is because it's actually kind of fun to start, because you're thinking about the future, you're getting hopeful, you're talking about these wonderful stories. He's Otto's little brother. Like, you got these little fun kitschy stories. It's not tangible, and it probably really pisses off a sector of fans, but I've always been a draft guy, and so if my team's sucking, I'm trying to find the silver lining that at least we get to have some fun with some mock drafts and some draft.
And Matthew, just look right now, perfect example. If the season ended today, the Buffalo Sabres would be in the playoffs, and I know that's what you want, is to have a franchise just like the Sabres do, so you can get that draft pick every single year, right?
I'm really happy that I no longer have to deal with one of the owners of my franchises that I root for owning multiple teams. Because can you imagine getting the double barrel shotgun of, like, God dang, the Sabres again this year, and oh yeah, by the way, we're completely blowing up your football team that was previously good. Like, that would be so flipping annoying to just have to deal with the same group of incompetence ruining your entire calendar year. At least here we can get mad at different groups of incompetence. It's fun.
Yeah. Hey, it's time for the NFL championship games this weekend, and let's go. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, makes every moment feel bigger. This is as big as it gets. The trip to the Super Bowl is on the line, and in the postseason, the game shifts fast. And with DraftKings live betting options, you can stay right in the moment, make every moment matter this NFL postseason with DraftKings. And Matthew, I don't know about you, but I've got a couple that I really like. As a matter of fact, I don't know if I like it, but Sam Darnold has not had the greatest success against the Los Angeles Rams. In his first game against the Rams, Darnold threw 4 interceptions. In his next game against the Rams, he threw 2 interceptions. And last week, the Rams picked off Caleb Williams 3 times. So the Rams defense is a takeaway machine. And if you look at where Darnold is right now in terms of interceptions, his over-under, he's plus 406. Or I'm sorry, no, he's plus 292. Darnold is to throw 2 or more interceptions. I really like that one. And then there's another one that I like a lot, and you and I have talked about this already, and it's the over-under for the Jared Stidham passing yards. And so I'm going to go with the under there for Jared Stidham as well. So those are my 2. I'm going to go with the passing yards for Stidham, and I'm going to go less than 182, and then I'm going to go 2 or more interceptions for Sam Darnold. You got anything you like this weekend?
I think I finally decided on it, Randy. I think I'm going to take a little bit of a risk, and I'm not as big of a risk. I'm going to stay away from the 5.5 points, but I'm so confident that even if the game is low scoring, even if they turn the ball over and somehow we see multiple picks returned for touchdowns by the Broncos, by hook or by crook, the New England Patriots are winning this football game. And because of that, I'm going big on the Patriots money line. I know I'm going to lose a little bit of the odds going with the money line on the favorite team, but I'm so confident that is as close to a lock as I've been able to find in this NFL season, right alongside the Texans beating the Steelers to start off the playoffs. It's the money line with the Patriots. I just don't see how they don't win this game. I'm not saying they're going to blow them away. I'm not saying they're going to dominate Jared Stidham, but they're winning this game. Patriots money line.
All right. I like that. And by the way, I had the over-under on the passing yards for one Jared Stidham. And right now he is at 199. And I don't see how he gets to 199. So I'm going to go with the under for Jared Stidham on the passing yards, 199. 1.5. And DraftKings has your back with early exit protection, too. If the player in your eligible NFL prop bet goes down at any point in the first half, you still get paid in cash. With DraftKings, you're covered through the entire half. Why bet player props anywhere else? New customers, here's your shot. Bet just $5, and if that bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the code STL Sports. That's code STL Sports, just like you see on your screen, to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus. Physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets, which expire in 7 days. Additional terms at dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer.
All right. So there you have it. And what do you think here of these passing props? So do you like what I have with the under for Jared Stidham and then the over-under on interceptions for Sam Darnold?
See, the over-under, I like the one for Sam Darnold because there's nothing that's really changed that factor for me on that team.
Yeah.
On the other side,
He's point at a half an interception. He's easily going to throw at least one, if not 2 interceptions, right?
Yes. And the Stidham one I'm only worried about that one because I don't think they can do enough to win the game. But I do think Sean Payton 200 yards through the air for Jared Stidham. He's that kind of mind. And so I like it, and it's going to be a part of many of my parlays. But yeah, it's going to be part of my parlays. There's no doubt about it. It's going to be part of my parlays because I don't think it's likely, but I'm staying away from it as my big hit because I could see it happening just because of Sean Payton factor. But yeah, I like it as a parlay, because I like to do the little ones, so I'll go under Stidham passing yards. I'll go over Stevenson rushing yards. I'll grab a couple Stefan Diggs receptions, put them all together in a little same game parlay.
All right. Hey, if you weren't paying attention late last night, the Mets acquired Freddie Peralta from Milwaukee in exchange for a couple of prospects, Jet Williams being one of them. And he's a little infielder, a 5'7" infielder that will get an opportunity in Milwaukee. And Milwaukee always makes good deals, right? They're a franchise that brings back good young players. But when you lose a 17-game winner, they better get a productive, healthy season out of Brandon Woodruff. If they don't, then I could see the Brewers being in real trouble because I really like the way, I don't know if you agree with me, that the Cubs have loaded up. I think this changes kind of like the trajectory of the NL Central because I think I thought those two teams were pretty even before Peralta was gone. Now I think the Cubs are better. And I think the Mets, and they still might have some bullets in their gun to take a shot at another player. But I think Peralta, giving them a legitimate number one, gives them a chance to be a playoff team. I don't think that they're going to be the best team in their division ahead of Philadelphia or ahead of the Braves. But you look at the Nationals, they got rid of Mackenzie Gore, traded him to Texas today. The Marlins might or might not be good. But I kind of think that the Mets will be battling for a playoff spot here by the end of the year. And I think part of it is going to be when you add Peralta, and Kodai Senga needs to be better than he was last year, no doubt about it. So does Manaea, the left-hander. But they've got Peterson, they've got Holmes, they've got the rookie that came up last year. I think there's a lot of good things that the Mets have. They got Devin Williams from the Yankees. They got Luke Weaver. They built their bullpen up a little bit. Adding 2 players to their infield in Semien to play second base, and you get the new third baseman. I think you're in pretty good shape here. I think you got a lot of things going for you.
Yeah, they do have a lot of things going for them. Unfortunately, of course, they have a lot of things going for them, Randy. They're the flipping New York Mets. They're in the New York media area. They have their own little TV station for all their games. Of course, they're doing just fine. The Brewers, on the other hand, and now I'm going to read directly from the ESPN piece by Jorge Castillo, the small market Brewers, after determining they did not have a realistic shot at re-signing Peralta, found that trading him for the right package was preferable to letting him walk for just a compensatory draft pick. The Brewers made similar decisions the last 2 winters when they traded all-star starter Corbin Burnes to the Baltimore Orioles for the 2024 season and sent all-star closer Devin Williams to the New York Yankees before last season, with both pitchers entering the final years of team control. I'm shocked that a small market team had to make that decision 3 consecutive off seasons in a row. I'm shocked, I say.
Yeah, stunning.
But it's everything we talked about yesterday.
You have to give them credit for doing a good job of it. So they who would have thought that they would have won after they traded Burns, right? Who would have thought that they would have won after trading Williams? But they just keep doing it.
Yeah, I mean, all credit to the New York Mets, all credit to an owner who's willing to spend. It's just that if this is the reality of baseball, it's playing out again right in front of us when a small market team has to make moves like this. A winning small market team has to make a move that looks like a move the Cardinals could have made if Freddie Peralta was a Cardinal at the end of the 2025 season. We all would have been chanting over this winter, you got to trade Freddie Peralta. You got to trade Freddie Peralta. Look at the contract. He's only $8 million. Every team wants him. You're not doing anything with him this year, but instead a winning team, to your point, a team that could be competing for the division title with a big market bully has to trade away Freddie Peralta because this is the realities of the finances in Major League Baseball. It's simply another sign this is all broken. If we didn't have Evan Drellich's piece, it should have come out after this deal. It's just more and more that MLB's having a problem, and free agency this year has shown it. I had this down earlier. There have been 16 free agency contracts that have been given out this winter with an AAV of 20 million plus. Those 16 contracts, 12 of them have been spread across 7 of the largest teams. We're talking about the Yankees, the Mets, the Dodgers, the Cubs, the Astros, the Blue Jays. Those are the teams that have gotten that have gotten 12 of the largest free agent contracts this year. The other 4 have each been signed by one small or mid-market team. You got Detroit, you got Arizona. I'm blanking on the other 2 right now. Bottom line is this free agency is a perfect extrapolation of everything we've talked about. Just the big markets are able to make move after move, add $20 million player after $20 million player, and yet every other team below that is simply saying we'll take one here or one there, whereas the Dodgers, the Yankees, and the Cubs are adding multiple each offseason.
And it's what's interesting is that for all of these moves that have been made, only one team's going to win the World Series in 2026. So you can try as hard as you want, but only one team is going to win the World Series.
Seems to be a lesson that you're trying to impart across multiple sports, Randy.
I am, yeah. I'm very intrigued to see what happens with the Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens as they push guys out the door. Yeah, it's. I think sometimes teams and franchises and especially owners get a little bit impatient, but if you do it the right way and you do win the World Series, then it all works for you. Damon Wilson, go ahead.
Well, it works for you, but if you're the Kansas City Royals and you win a World Series, then you have to reset everything and try again in 10 years because you had to give out a couple contracts that strain your franchise's coffers for a little bit.
Yeah, the issue really isn't about these teams that are buying up players and have a great opportunity and are enhancing their opportunity to win, and you just listed those markets. It's more for me the markets with teams that have no chance to win. I think that is a bigger issue for baseball to fix than the teams that do have a chance to win. There has to be a way to get those franchises in cities where an NFL team has an opportunity to win on a regular basis. You need to get those franchises where fans feel like, okay, I got a shot to win. If you're in New York, and New York maybe not a good example because over the last 11 years, the Jets and Giants have the worst records in the NFL. But look at Kansas City, where the Chiefs have a dynasty, and the Royals, they certainly can't win every year. You look at
Tampa Bay.
There's another one. Yeah.
I think that's a great example. The Glazers who have funny money, they never have any issue.
Right. It's throughout sports. The Milwaukee Bucks, they aren't going to win. They had their one shot with Giannis, but in the NFL, the Packers have a chance every year. And by the way, the Bucks did win, and they're able to keep Giannis, so that is a point of a salary cap. But Pittsburgh, the Pirates are never going to win. The Steelers have a winning record every year. Cincinnati, the Bengals have a chance because they can afford a guy like Burrow. The Reds really don't. I think that is the bigger issue. And Cleveland has multiple franchises that have no chance of winning.
Denver.
Yeah, right.
Hell, look at
Although
look at
the Rockies are just a mess.
yeah.
I don't know that I'm going to give the Rockies any. We can't put them in this conversation because it doesn't matter if they're a big or small market team. They're just a disaster.
All right, fair point. That's a strong point.
So I mentioned the name of Damon Wilson II, the former Mizzou and Georgia defensive end, who, by the way, was sued by Georgia and is countersuing Georgia. He is officially transferred to the national champion Miami Hurricanes. He's from Florida. I'm sure he got more money to go there. Good for him. And I guess Mizzou, because one thing that Eli Drinkwitz said during the season is all of our players have buyouts in their contract. I'll be interested to find out, and hopefully we will, what Damon Wilson's buyout was to leave Mizzou and whether he's paying it or whether Miami is paying it. I think Miami, I wonder who Miami's booster is. Like, who's their Mark Cuban? Who's the guy that's giving, who's their Cody Campbell? Who's the guy that's giving Miami who's their number one fundraiser and the number one NIL benefactor?
Let's see if anything jumps up with a little bit. Apparently, John Ruiz was a big deal.
Okay.
Who he was the guy who apparently made everything a big deal in the Miami.
Okay. The NIL king, huh? Okay.
Yes, but apparently there's some issue. He was the CEO of Life Wallet.
Oh, okay, good. And Dana White apparently a big booster of
that makes sense.
The Hurricanes as well.
So he says The Rocc. I don't know about that. Yeah, I mean, I hope Damon Wilson doesn't have to deal with multiple lawsuits or pay multiple releases or whatever it is. It's a good decision. The rumor out there was that he was asking for QB money as a pass rusher, which kind of in an NFL mindset. I respect the man for doing that. Go get your money, young kid. Go play for the national runner-up. The ACC probably gonna have a good shot at making the tournament or making the playoff next year as well if they can find a quarterback. Because they have that freshman wide receiver who's just an absolute monster. And find a quarterback. I'm sure they're working in the portal right now. Find a quarterback, pay him $3 million again.
They'll wind up with Mensa somehow.
Yeah, there you go. So pay another quarterback $3.5 million, play him a good amount of money, and good for Damon Wilson. Go for it, young man.
Yeah, and I'm kind of surprised that he didn't enter the NFL draft. But when you look at Mel Kiper's big board, and take it with a grain of salt, but there are a lot of edge rushers that are coming out that are going to be high draft picks this year. So I wonder if maybe he looked at the landscape and said, okay, we've got a guy like Reese coming out. We've got a guy like Bailey coming out. Maybe the best play for me would be to wait until next year when you don't have all of this talent, at least right now.
Apparently next year's got Manning. It's got Moore now who just went back.
You've got the quarterbacks, but you don't have the edge rushing talent.
Oh, that's a very good point. Yeah, that's a good point. The edge rushing talent isn't really there. That's a good point.
Yeah,
you got me on that.
And then you told me about some things that are happening over at City. What's going on with our friends at City already?
They're injured already, which is just happening again. Two of the players, one of them who was supposed to be one of the biggest starters, Falu Fall, apparently will not participate in any more of the preseason and is therefore going to miss some of the start of the season because you can't really be ready to start the season if you miss all of the preseason. Somebody should tell NFL players that.
So are they working next to a substation or something? An electric substation over there?
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think what's around that thing. What's around the training facilities, and maybe that's why none of the national teams want to play here in St. Louis, and they're all going to Kansas City. But yeah, Falu Fall and another player, Tomas Ostrak, who's more of a super sub. Both will not participate in the rest of the preseason, and that means they're going to miss the start of the season. But yesterday, the big news was that Zhao Klaus, who's been one of the first players on St. Louis City SC, one of their leading scorer for 2 of the 3 seasons, Zhao Klaus is being rumored that the LA Galaxy are coming after him for a cash transfer of a reported $2 million. This is all according to the Athletics' Tom Bogert. So the leading scorer from City, one of the founding players, if you will, is apparently in talks to maybe leave. It still requires some things to get across the board, including, as Tom Bogert reported, the players' approval. So Zhao Klaus is still training with St. Louis City as of today, as reported by head coach Yohan DeMay to the media today. But things are a little tricky right now, and the fan base is not happy in St. Louis with St. Louis City SC.
That's a shame.
It really is. It's kind of a huge bummer. Kobat's left foot asking, will Klaus be traded? Apparently it's up to him. It's going to be weird because, and here's the other thing that's kind of pissing off St. Louis City fans right now, which is Josh Sargent, who is from, I want to say O'Fallon. And I don't remember which O'Fallon it is, but is from the St. Louis area. And I always blank on which O'Fallon it is. I'll double check it. Josh Sargent is done with Norwich City. He's from O'Fallon, Missouri. My apologies. Josh Sargent is done with Norwich City, which is his club over in the UK. Plays in the EFL Championship, which is one rung below the Premier League because they got relegated. He stayed with them despite them getting relegated. But there's been this entire little kerfuffle, as we always like to call it on this show, between him and the team, where they wanted to transfer him to Germany. He wasn't really down for that. Apparently, he wanted to stay and help Norwich get promoted. And then something came up where he does want to move to the MLS. And now apparently there's a report that some comments were made to him about his family, which made him pretty much go, I'm completely done with any and all of you. Sell me right now. But the issue right now that people have the issue with in St. Louis is that the report is that Toronto FC is the team that's entirely in on. He wants to go to Toronto. Toronto's willing to spend $15 to $18 million to get Josh Sargent from Norwich. And St. Louis City fans are just pissed off that the ownership group isn't willing to spend $15 million. I get why that bothers people. I just don't know how to phrase stop being surprised that this team isn't just going to be the kind of club that just spends the owner's money. This team, I expect when they get money, they will spend money. And they've sold a couple players for $2 million. They could sell another one in Klaus for $2 million. They've spent $2 million on signing Konrad Valem from his loan over in Prague. They spent $2 million reportedly on a center back who's been playing for the Barcelona's second team named Mamadou Fall. My apologies. So they're spending money, but they're not spending nearly enough money of what people want. But there was no way in hell that as an expansion team in their fourth year in existence was going to break $15 million off for one player. It wasn't going to happen unless the ownership group was somebody who was just rolling in money, not just a family that was.
So tell me this though. For City SC in their fourth year, if they would get a guy like Sargent, let's just throw a number out there for 18 million, would there be a return on investment? Would that be a good business move both on and off the field? Could they maybe not recoup the expense, but would it be worth it for them from a visibility standpoint and an on-field standpoint to have a guy like that on their team?
It would. I mean,
at that price.
At that price, I think that's where it's tough to say. I mean, if it was like $8 or $9 million, if it was like $10 million, I would say go for it. I do think that the extra 50% to 80% on top of that $10 million is why it becomes a stretch a little bit. First of all, the age you're getting him, you're not going to sell him back to Europe and make money on this sale. So this isn't a guy that you sign that you get for $10 million and you eventually are able to sell him for $20 million. That kind of him coming back to the MLS before he hits 30 from the championship kind of ends that potential trail for a player. So you're bringing him back to the MLS, and he's going to be a very valuable player in this league. He's going to be a very good player in this league. So would he make this a championship caliber team this year? No. Would it give him one of the best strikers in the MLS? Undoubtedly, it would give him one of the best strikers in the MLS, but it wouldn't make them a winning team this year, I don't think. Because I think they got to build out a little bit more. It would go to a big step to making them more fun to watch. It would go to a big step to them scoring more goals. But I don't know if it makes them a championship team this year. And at the same time, overall, I'm not sure how easily profitable the MLS is. Even with a sold-out stadium, a lot of the games, or at least tickets sold for the stadium, I'm not sure how profitable the team is right now, considering the transfer, the expansion fee that was paid, the amount that was spent on the training facility, which is state-of-the-art, the amount that was spent on the stadium, state-of-the-art, and the amount that they're still spending as they buy up properties around downtown St. Louis. That's something that some people might not realize is there is a lot of time. If you go downtown right now and you see that there's a building being leveled or that there's a parking lot covered in construction tape, there's a very good chance that St. Louis City was the one that bought, leveled, and is now developing that piece of land. They're doing it all around that little area. So they're spending a lot of money developing things around there for the purpose of making them a better club. And so I just don't know right now if they'd be able to see enough initial investment from that much money for them to see the return. And I think that's why there's been zero rumblings that City's been in on this $15 million kind of push from Toronto. Also, at the same time, we just have to be realistic about St. Louis and the city and a guy who, yes, he's from here. I have no doubt in my mind that Josh Sargent would love to play for his hometown. Like, I have zero doubt of that in my mind. But he's also 24. He's also about to turn 26 years old. And the prospect is that he's going to go play and be a high-paid player and a star in Toronto or St. Louis. Maybe he says, I want to go to Toronto for 3 or 4 years. And when I'm 30, I'll be a little bit more open, and I'll be a little bit more kind of in the stage of my life where I want to live back home around my family and maybe start
take advantage of the free zoo.
There you go, because he's gonna have, because maybe he'll have kids. And so you're 26 years old. Like, I understand wanting to go play in Toronto. I understand why people would want to go play in Chicago or LA and New York or Miami. I've always understood that. And so for him, I completely understand that as well, is that if he wants to go to Toronto because he wants to go to Toronto, completely reasonable. There's plenty of time for him to come to St. Louis, have a 3 or 4 year solid career, and be the hometown hero that I'm sure he wouldn't mind being.
All right. We got a party coming up, don't we?
Yes, we do.
You're going to go set us up for a party tonight at the Key STL Burger Bar and Boogie.
Yeah, get on down, guys. It's really easy drive. In fact, it's kind of right in the area, or right before the area we're talking about. 3225 Olive Street downtown. If you need a little reference for where that's at, Chaffetz Arena is right there on Compton, and you got Olive just right there on that corner, right up the street. So you got Chaffetz, you got the baseball fields, and then you got that parking garage just across Olive. From that parking garage is where we're going to be at tonight at the Key Burger Bar and Boogie. It's a lot of fun. They got the big bar area, the food area. You can see there. You can see the bar. You can see the food window as well. We'll be over to the side in the Boogie area because we're going to hopefully have a good amount of people watching us tonight. Live show. Cam Jansen, he'll be talking some Blues. You can also see Cam Jansen talking Blues on the YouTube channel as well. Jim Hayes, he'll be talking a little bit of baseball and Cardinals. And, of course, we're going to be talking baseball and Cardinals because we got special guest Matt Adams. He'll be there for the full show from 6 to 8. And it's not just listening to some great talk with those guys, but we got prizes as well. Opening day Cardinals tickets, Blues tickets, and autographed merch from Cam and Matt. You want some Blues merch, you want some Cardinals merch, you got to get down to the Key tonight from 6 to 8 p.m. Keys do a great night at the Key. Great food and drink, great prizes, and great friends. It's going to be a lot of fun. Like Randy said, as soon as I finish the show, I am leaving to go set that whole thing up. It's going to be a lot of fun tonight. Get on down to the Key from 6 to 8 p.m. down at 3225 Olive Street in Midtown St. Louis.
We will see you down there. Great job as always, sir. Thank you.
You too as well. Thank you.
Matthew Rocchio, Randy Karraker, Wilson got us on the air, and we appreciate you being with us on the Randy Karraker Show on STL Sports Central. We are presented by DraftKings, where the crown is yours.